Welcome to New Playwrights, a program introducing new plays and playwrights to the television viewing audience. I'm Shirley Romaine, your host. The program is produced by the Public Access Television Corporation in cooperation with the North Shore Community Arts Council. This is the 5th year of our presenting one-act plays selected through a competition. And I must tell you that previous productions have been very well received. Many of them have won awards for excellence. The play that you're about to see, Two Old Men Talking in a McDonald's in Plainview, is by Albert Meglin. It is one of this year's competition winners. The director and the actors are from the professional fields of television and theater. After the play, I will be talking with the playwright. I think after you've seen it, you're going to want to meet him. So please join us. And now, Two Old Men Talking in a McDonald's in Plainview.
Yes, Murray, am I right?
Right.
Well, hello then, Murray. You don't remember me?
Should I remember you?
Cortlandt Price, Court, Mercy Hospital, my wife Elaine, your, I forget your wife's name.
Ada.
Ada. Elaine and Ada. Room 705. 17 months ago. What happens to time, Murray?
Time passes.
May I join you? 17 months. So, what have you been doing with yourself, Murray?
Not so much.
I forget your line of work.
Dry cleaning.
Dry cleaning, right. 2 stores, I do recall that.
3.
3, whatever. And are they doing well?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I sold them to my partner.
But why?
Why not?
Was it wise of you? I mean, to give them up at this time.
I don't know, was it?
But to fill your days, to have a place to report to regularly. That's important, Murray.
I report to McDonald's for breakfast in the morning. I report to McDonald's for lunch in the afternoon. And if I don't complete my crossword puzzle in the morning, I finish it in the afternoon, regularly.
I mean really filling your days. I'm talking about, well, taking part in what life has to offer us.
What life has to offer us. What has life to offer us?
Well, the going on, surely.
The going on, surely.
Well, bravely, one hopes.
Bravely one hopes.
My Elaine insisted always, I want you to go on, Court. Your Ada wanted you to go on, too.
That's what I thought I was doing.
I mean, Murray, to be productive, to do things, vital things, to keep occupied.
To keep occupied. My coffee occupies me. My puzzle occupies me.
Something with structure. What was it? Oh, yeah. A woman's day fills itself. A man's day has to be filled for him. That's what my Elaine used to say.
My Ada didn't ever say anything like that.
Your children, daughters, weren't they?
Sons.
Sons. You do see them.
I have one son lives in Chicago, another one in Kansas someplace.
I see my daughter every day. I took an apartment around the corner from her. I have a little grandson.
I can do without that.
His name is William.
I said I can do without that.
You're still depressed then, am I right?
I shouldn't be, right?
Well, up to a point, perhaps.
What point is that?
We had a terrible time, Murray. A terrible, terrible time. Elaine, Ada, chance roommates, angry illnesses. But Murray, 17 months ago, 17 months.
I can count.
Oh, dear, dear court, my Elaine said. Don't give in to grief. I won't have you giving in to grief.
Your Elaine used to talk a lot, didn't she? My Ada didn't.
As soon as I could, Murray, I went back to my work. Well, you recall my work. Philosophy and humanities at the university. I'm surprised you don't remember.
Sometimes I don't remember to put on my socks. And today seems to be one of those days.
Oh, look at the time. I better get at this Danish, don't you think?
How come you're eating breakfast not at home? Didn't your Elaine leave you instructions about that?
It's okay, Murray.
And why aren't you having breakfast at the university? At the fun-filled humanities and philosophy table?
It's okay, Murray. I understand. I do.
I don't conduct classes on Wednesday mornings. On Wednesday mornings, I attend the group.
The group?
Well, the hospital told you about the group, didn't they? They gave you the literature, didn't they?
When it was time to get out of here, I got out. I didn't wait for any literature.
Oh, the group was formed for people like us, Murray. People in the aftermath, so to speak. I joined the day after my Elaine died. You see, I'm not afraid to use the word.
Yes, I see.
I knew I couldn't do it without help. The group became the way for me. I knew myself. I wanted to move forward.
Move forward, yes.
It's important to know yourself.
Did you just make that up?
Oh, come on.
I was a wreck, Murray. I was lost. I was unsure. And today I'm president of the group. 3 months now.
Well, congratulations on your recovery.
By unanimous vote.
And congratulations on the unanimous vote.
One of my responsibilities is to find new ways to help members. That's what a president does.
Is that what a president does?
Yes, I have a brochure right here. My idea. Would you believe before I was president, they didn't have a new members brochure? It could be helpful, Murray. Well, promise me you'll look at it later.
No, I don't promise.
This sentence here, this was written for you. In the larger sense, our marriages serve to equip us to live alone, for we understand that one spouse must survive the other.
I can do without that.
Our job as loving spouses, then, is to acknowledge this and act upon it.
I said I can do without that.
I'm trying to help you, Murray. Oh, just yesterday at the library, I happened on something interesting. In my research, I discovered what certain ancient cultures did to restore perspective after the loss of a loved one. Would you like to hear about it?
Well, if they don't mind if I drink my coffee while they're restoring my perspective.
Okay. Well, directly after the ceremonies, the family would gather to make a list. All the faults of the loved one. Not the virtues, you understand, but the faults.
The faults. I get it.
The faults, Murray, are the key.
The key, yes.
Why only the faults?
Beats the hell out of me.
Because when a loved one dies, we tend to mythologize.
Mythologize, of course.
We think of our Elaines, our Adas, as perfect people, flawless, with every positive feature, every heroic trait. But our Elaines, our Adas were not perfect, not flawless. That's not real life.
Not real life.
Listing the faults tends to block the tendency to mythologize. Block the tendency, and healing can begin, you see?
Healing can begin, yes?
Purpose will return.
Purpose will return.
I'm going to present the idea to the group today. Of course, it's supposed to be done immediately after the ceremony, so any list you or I might make up won't have the same impact.
Then it won't matter if we don't do it, right?
Would you like to hear the list I've made of my Elaine's faults?
No, I wouldn't.
But why?
But for openers, I don't think Elaine would like it.
She'd be the first one to encourage it. Number one, Elaine had a temper. You know, she'd get angry at me sometimes for no reason I could see. Not many people knew that. It was my cross to bear.
She was ill, Court.
Before she was ill. Number two, Elaine would sometimes pretend to be reading a book I had recommended, but she wouldn't be reading it at all.
She was ill, Court.
Before she was ill.
I don't want to hear any more about it.
Number three, Elaine was not a neat person. Her side of the closet was always the messy one, always. She never stacked the papers properly for recycling.
An ill woman has to recycle properly?
Before she was ill. Number four.
No.
But
I
Maury,
don't want to hear any more of it. These are not faults.
they are false.
These are things that human beings do.
You're not getting the point.
The point is to not mythologize. I get that. I get it. My God, Court. My Ada made noises when she slept. Some women get prettier when they get older. My Ada stopped being pretty when she was 25. My Ada was cranky. The pain in her legs made her cranky. But Cortland Price, she was a person. A person. It all goes with the territory.
I understand what you're going through, Murray.
I was married to her for 44 years. Every morning of her life, she said the same thing. Murray, sit down when you eat. Every morning. I missed her saying that 17 months ago, and I miss it now. I was angry at her for leaving me then. Oh, you would say dying, because you and your group aren't afraid of the word. I'm angry at her for leaving me now. But I know she didn't want the pains in her legs anymore. So someday, I'll stop being angry. Okay?
Come to the group, Murray.
The group. Is the group going to fill the big hole in me where Ada was? One more time, I want her to say, Murray, sit down when you eat. One more time is all I'm asking. One more time. Is that so much?
Come with me to the group, Murray.
Here is where I come. Here is where I do my crossword puzzle. It's what I have now, what I know about now, okay? Tomorrow I'll do another. I'll do a puzzle every day, and maybe one of those days I won't remember what she looked like, okay? Okay? You, my friend, Mr. Cortland Price, President, Professor of Humanities and Philosophy. Go make your list of phony faults with the group. Say dying and died fearlessly all you want to. Be occupied. Be very occupied. You have years more to fool yourself. Now I think I'll go home. There's nothing to do there, but I'll go home. Begins the next part of my day. I think it's good having your grandson around the corner. It's a nice thing.
Elaine, why did you leave me?
I have one son lives in Chicago, another one in Kansas someplace.
It is my pleasure to be speaking with Al Meglin, whose play, Two Old Men Talking, in a McDonald's in Plainview you've just seen. And as I said earlier, this play is one of the award winners in this year's New Playwrights competitions. So, Al, a wonderful play. I enjoyed it so much.
Thank you.
And I really want to talk about you, but the play is still very hot with both of us, so let's talk about the play. When we spoke earlier, you said this play was given to you. Now, what did you mean by that?
Well, what happened with the Two Old Men play was this. I had a doctor's appointment, and I got there very early. And I thought to myself, I'll go into this McDonald's across the street and have a cup of coffee while I'm waiting. And I went into the McDonald's, sat down, and became aware very soon that there were two older men, older than myself, who were at another table, and they were discussing what seemed to me like a series of events that had brought them together. And I listened, and I felt my left ear getting larger and larger. And I listened, and I knew there was a play there.
Yeah.
And so I lingered over my coffee and had a second cup and continued to listen. And by the time I had left that McDonald's, I said to myself, it's time to tell the doctor I've got to go home right away and put some of this down. And that's what I did.
Well, listen, I know that you're a very good listener, but it's really selective listening. I mean, as a playwright, as a craftsman, you really have to take that material and then you have to make a play out of it.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Now, share that process with us.
Well, for example, what they were doing when I was busy listening to them, one was explaining to the other that he had a new kind of answering machine, and he actually had it on the table and was showing the other guy just exactly what it was. And I could tell that my Cortland, was not the slightest bit interested in this at all.
Yeah.
So I had to wait for that little scene to play itself out and get to the good stuff. And the good stuff was that they were sharing a very sad experience of what had happened to their wives. The selectivity, what I like to do is to put down a first draft and work it and work it and rework it and rework it so that it assumes a shape that real life doesn't have.
Right.
However, that having been said, Shirley, I have to tell you some of the lines are word for word what I heard. And if Murray and Cortland are out there now, they might want to sue me. I don't know.
I doubt it. No, but what you're saying, in a way, is that it is necessary to provide a kind of structure, you know,
Oh,
as
yes.
a playwright.
Oh, yes.
And we're going to talk more about that later, because I know it's
Oh, sure.
something that you're very interested
Yes,
in.
yes.
But these are two men who have dealt with loss in a very different way.
Mhm.
And I think each of them feels that their way is the way. And I sort of felt, watching the play, that at the end, they're coming from very different places, but each of them has somehow touched the other. That there is, you know, that has happened by the end of the play. Was that your intention? Was that kind of
Yes.
what you had in mind?
As I saw it, as I shaped this dialogue, as I saw it, Murray has the more visceral approach to his grief. He has, if you will, accepted it and recognized it and given into it.
Yeah.
Whereas Cortland, dealing as he does on a collegiate level with his work, he approached it in a very intellectual way.
Yeah.
And my feeling about these two men is this: if you were to happen upon them a year later, Murray would be much further along getting back to life than Cortland would, because he has already dealt with the grief on a
Yeah.
visceral plane,
Yeah.
whereas Cortland has used words and defenses.
Yeah.
But you're right. I hope that they each brought a little something to the other.
Yeah.
Certainly Cortland's last line, when he says, Elaine, why did you leave me, and cannot bring himself to use the word death, even though
Yes.
he said that he could
Yes,
before.
yes.
I think that's the tip
Yeah.
that his grieving process will now begin.
Yes, and of course, with the other character, his saying, it's very nice to have a
have a
grandson
grandson.
close to you is his,
Is
you
his
know,
way of-
his
yes.
way of doing it. I was going to just say that you write the play, you know, you listen and then you write the play, and then you give it to a director and actors.
And you hope.
And you breathe life, you know,
Yeah.
a new kind of life is
Yeah,
breathed
yeah.
into it. And a new creative process takes place. Did they, in this production, realize what you had in mind?
Oh yes, this Norman Hall is a guy who he seems to be on my wavelength, and I
Yeah.
on his. I trust him totally.
Yeah.
And what he brought to it, in many places, brings tears to my eyes. There's a particular speech that I knew was good when I wrote it.
Of course.
But he kept a close-up on Murray while Murray was talking about Elaine and how her humanity was such that one forgave what faults. There's something about the direction of that particular scene that absolutely gets me in the gut
Very moving.
every time I see
Really,
it.
yeah.
Both actors brought a great deal to this that I
Yeah.
had not seen.
Yeah, yeah. Well, of course, that's the excitement of it for you.
Sure.
You know, really seeing life breathed into it. Seeing it, were there things in it that you hadn't thought about? Did you see, you know, something new?
Yeah, many. You get surprised when you see your own work. From the opening shot, I had seen this, for example, as a very cloistered, overheard kind of conversation in a little corner of a room, and Norman had that wonderful shot of the McDonald's at the beginning and brought
yes.
them outside.
Oh, I love that. Didn't you sing?
Yes,
I mean, that's where
and
they
brought
were.
them outside again at the end. So that really established
Yeah.
much of what
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
hoping for.
Yeah.
And of course the music. We mustn't forget the music.
Yeah.
I thought the music
Yeah.
was wonderful,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
just wonderful.
Yeah, it's used in a very
yeah.
interesting way and very well chosen, I
Very, very good actors too.
I
Good
think,
actors bring themselves into a role
Yeah.
in a way that always surprises
think.
me.
Yeah, must really be wonderful for
It
you.
is wonderful.
You know,
Because the writing is a lonely kind of occupation, and you see what you see in your mind's eye,
yeah.
and then to have somebody else translate it movingly
Yeah,
is
yeah,
quite an
yeah,
experience.
Yeah, I think
A
so.
wonderful experience.
I think so. You know, you're saying it brought tears to your eyes, and I can understand that. You know, once before last year we did a play, one of the play winners, and once again it happened. You know, he too had nothing but praise for Norman and the actors, and it brought tears to his eyes. You know, he really said, "I just watched it and I wept," which is really wonderful.
It sounds like a very prideful thing
Yeah.
to do, but it
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
It happens because the realization is so total.
Yeah. Well, knowing you, Al, I know something of your history, and you often talk about your two lives as a playwright.
Yes, I
It's
do.
quite a story. Will you share it with us?
Well, it goes something like this. Very early in my life, before this happened to my hair,
The gray. You
The
mean
gray.
the gray. The gray we're
gray.
talking about.
and the losing. Before all that happened, I had a nice little career as a television playwright. It was satisfying in its way when television was in its golden period, before all the violence and the guts and what have you,
Yeah.
the police shows. These were dramas, and that's where I cut my teeth on things dramatic. And we flashed forward for a while, and midway in my life, I had a stroke from which, thank heavens, I recovered very, very well. And it took a long time for the creative juices to come back. That took a while, but when they did come back, I was by then time retired, and I said, now I can do what I want to do. And so I sat down and let the imagination roam, as it would, and I've completed a rather large body of work, and some of them actually get produced in odd
well,
places.
of course, that's
That's
really,
the fun of it, too.
That's terrific. As a writer, as a playwright, I know that structure is very important to you. I mean, I realize that character and action, climax, all of that is
Yeah.
important. But you've talked again and again, you know, when we
Yeah.
have spoken
Yeah.
about how important that whole thing of structure is for you as a writer. And you just told me that you'd had a very interesting
Yes, I
experience
did.
that kind of renewed your feeling in that.
First I should tell you this, I fell in love with the structure of plays very early in life. I can remember as a junior high school kid reading plays and saying, this is quite remarkable. Later on, when I became much more sophisticated, I gave it a name. I liked what I call the magnificent artifice of a play, which to my mind means that people come into a room because they've got to be there. They cannot leave the room to say, I must have a drink of water at once.
That's
They've got
right.
to stay there.
Right.
The audience has to believe they're there and that they can be in no other place. The audience has to take flimsy settings and assume that that's a room, but if the playwright is good, this artifice takes over.
Yeah.
And the experience I had was I was in another town where they get Turner Classic Movies, and there was a sort of festival of movies that had been made from plays. And what a blessing it was to watch Idiot's Delight and see that structure
Yeah.
sitting there,
Yeah.
and to watch Dinner at 8 and see that wonderful
Oh,
structure
those
there.
Great plays.
Wonderful. The women, and see this
Yeah.
this
yeah.
a structure arching over the
Yeah.
entire thing.
Yeah.
I loved that. I
Yeah.
thought that was wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's what I try for in my own limited
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Is there a contemporary playwright whose work you admire or perhaps inspires you in some way?
David Mamet reaches me where I live.
Oh, boy.
Glengarry Glen Ross is the play of this decade.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
says so much. It means so much. It's such a magnificent, scalding
Yeah,
kind of play. I like his work. I just saw it Take Me Out, and Richard Greenberg is a
Greenberg.
playwright to be reckoned with.
Yes.
This is,
Oh, it's
and talk about structure, that has a
Oh,
beautiful,
yes. Oh,
beautiful
yes,
structure.
terrific play.
Terrence McNally does some moving
Yeah,
things.
Yeah.
They're all good, and we need every single one of them.
Yeah. Let me ask you this quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You have produced quite a body of work. It's
Mm-hmm.
been done, you know, it's been done in many places, in many venues, and here on New
Mhm.
Playwrights. Is there a common thread? Is there some characteristic, something that we could say characterizes all of your work?
That's a good question. I like to think that I have a comedic talent that will show up in odd places here and there. It doesn't show up here
Yeah.
in this play, but life is such a chaotic mystery to me, and the fact that you can find comedy very, very close
Yeah.
to the serious
Yeah.
grains in life is very
Is something that you
important.
really are concerned
I would like to do that when I
Oh,
can.
listen, thank you, Al. This has really been wonderful talking with you.
I thank you very much, Shirley.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Shirley Romaine for New Playwrights. Let us talk.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
Oh, very good. You
I
answered
assume
all
there
the
were no
questions.
goofs.
You answered all the questions. Very good.
Good. Good.
No, I think we got everything in.
Yeah. Now they'll look at it to see if there are any technical flaws, and then
Well,
we'll know.
I think so. And then I